Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series premiere of Gachiakuta. Great series premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. I struggle so hard to say the title of this series for whatever reason. It's like a tongue twister for me. This series is really interesting. I've never read the manga. I watched the teaser trailer for this, so I went into this kind of not really know what the premise of it was. First and foremost, I don't know why this. I guess because of where the main protagonist Rudo ends up at the end of the episode, it's not a 1-to-1, but it kind of gives me Dead Man Wonderland vibes, which I thought was kind of interesting. I actually looked it up. The mangaka, her name is Ki Urana. Apparently she served as an assistant for the mangaka who did Fire Force and Soul Eater, which in retrospect, because I was like, some of the character designs are really interesting, and I couldn't place why it seems slightly familiar, and I think maybe it's even though I haven't seen Soul Eater, I've seen images and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I haven't seen enough of Fire Force to really kind of gauge that, but I'm sure it has a similar art style to Soul Eater from the little bit I've seen of it, but I think that might be where I'm the character design slightly seem familiar. It's probably also a weird reference to make. Even though I've never played this game, I've always been interested in playing the game. In fact, I watched someone play it a while back, but the Okage the Shadow King game, that has a very interesting art design to it. So for whatever reason, the character design for this series kind of reminds me of that as well. Either way, I'm going on a tangent, but yeah, interesting setup where it's there's this utopian city, and it's such a clean and pure white city, and then we have our main protagonist Rudo breaking in, because they have that opening where it's basically it's the belief that if you take care of something, that object will eventually get a soul. But it's what happens when trash is thrown away, and they talk about how so much is still valuable, there still could be used to something, but you immediately throw it away, and not this society doesn't just do it to objects, it does it to people as well. And we meet Rudo, who's going through the trash dump, scavenging whatever he can, because he believes this society throws away stuff that still could be good. There's the little girl, her mom's right, it'd be too much trouble to fix up this stuffed animal, because it's just going to look ugly afterwards, so might as well just scrap it and just buy you a new one when it's all said and done. And he ended up gathering that and some other stuff. They're adamant about this stuff to the point they didn't start out with tasers, they came in with bullets, which I think is indicative of something later on, but we'll get to it in a second. The fact is, going through the garbage was them hey, we're gonna kill you, we're literally gonna shoot you. And luckily he got away, but he did get grazed in the arm, because apparently he's been an issue more and more times of he's a trash raider. And it's not just his side of town that's kind of knows about that, but also the proper side of town. And so the city is literally divided between the slums and the proper high class element of. So it's kind of the people who live in the slums are known as the tribes folk. I don't know if we know the guards are called the apostles. I don't know what the society on it definitely has a Tengoku type of Yami type of vibe, aesthetically, oh, this is heaven and this is hell, and I'm sure that's probably a thematic element to it is that. But like I said, even the people in the slums know that it's Rudo that's doing this, and they're just oh, look, because they look down on Rudo because it turns out his father was a murderer and he got thrown in a pit, which is the ultimate punishment. You do any major crime, you end up in the pit. But they say his dad killed a whole bunch of people, which is interesting because one of the kids is chastising Rudo, and it's hey, apparently ages ago all of their ancestors committed crimes, and that's why they were sent here to basically, it's meant to be a prisoned off area so they can suffer for what they did. And it's if we live a decent enough life, maybe we can be quote unquote rehabilitated. That's kind of at least that's what the kids believe. I don't even know if the adults swallow that garbage, or whether they just kind of say this is our life and accept it as is. But it is the thing of they don't want trouble, and it's things are bad enough, and Rudo is the type who is attracting trouble. Seems very few people in the slums are on his side. Other kids pick on him. Seems his only friend ends up being Chiwa, whom he immediately has a crush on. And he has his father figure, was it Regat? Was that his name? I can't remember now off the top of my head. But he's not his biological father. He's the guy that found him and took him in. We also found out about, well, we don't know what the circumstances are, but Rudo's arms are messed up. They're like, I think he described it as kind of like black, and they've been like that ever since he was a kid. He thinks they're injuries caused by his dad, which I'm wondering if there's something else to it. I wonder, is it kind of almost like a curse? Will there be? It feels like it's too significant to be like, it's definitely going to end up being some superpower. Because I halfway expected him to have claws or something the way the kids were talking about it, but his hands look like, basically they look charred. You can see like, it looks like there's like red scarring to like how like his hands like they look like they've been charred and burned, but then he has like red scarring on them. So like I expect like some kind of superpowered something from it. Having no knowledge of where this is going to go, it just feels like once again superpowered hand. You're like a Nero situation. Like Nero's hand, like right hand was kind of disfigured, and you know it's his demonic hand. You know, so I wonder if it's going to be something applicable to that. Whatever it is, it's in both of his hands, so we'll have to wait to see what potentially comes of that. But this episode's a lot of world building, kind of like bringing up the pit again. Chiwa brings up how kind of sad it is that basically they built the slums as close as possible to the pit so that even if people don't want to, you have no choice but to see someone get thrown in the pit, executed every day or whenever they do that, because it's meant to stick up a point of like, don't let this end up being you. I guess the timing's interesting too because of like the divide between those who have and those who have not. Obviously, like, you know, I recently finished up Metaphor Re Fantasio a couple days ago. Great game. Still got to go back through for like 2 or 3 more trophies. But either way, it kind of has that like there's slum areas of certain places, especially like the main capital city. But the city like the king lives in and stuff. There's kind of like a slum area, but there's also like a divide between like races. Like there's a tier system between which race is on top and which one's on the bottom. In this case, it's like, I'm sure the tribes folk are not looked at as human. They're looked at down as disgusting. Even some of the people whispering when like, what's his name, Regat was like out and about. They're like, shouldn't he just wish they'd stay on their side of the city. It's just like, okay. But Rudo was getting chastised about how he obviously had feelings for Chiwa. He wanted to bring her like that bunny he repaired it and wanted to give it to her. I mean, we find out the reason why he's still trash because he's like, it's still viable stuff that people could use, but also he uses it as part of paying for his living expenses because he wants to give it back to what is essentially like his adoptive father, because it's like, you took me in when literally no one else, and you look at me as not like, you don't look at me like a monster, like a reject, like literally everyone else does. And I mean, only other person he thought did look at him that way is Chiwa, which is like, well, that obviously changes, which is kind of very heartbreaking, where it's just like, you know, you gave her this gift. She says he's nothing like his father, but when the time comes, she immediately, like everyone else, is like, so you are a murderer. I believed in you. And it's like, obviously you didn't believe in me that much if you're willing to immediately like turn your eye. And that's what pisses Rudo off later on. It's like, you guys have eyes and ears. None of you are willing to listen, and you don't care, because as long as it's not impacting you, you don't care. It's like, well, you already made your mind up about who and what I am. So it's like, go ahead and get rid of him. As long as it doesn't negatively impact us, get rid of him. And that way that's less trouble for us. But this is where things kind of, you know, when that guy first showed up, I was actually scared. I'm like, I didn't think he's going after your adoptive father. I thought what was going to happen, I figured with this setup, I was like, Rudo is going to get like blamed for something and tossed essentially in a pit. Like I said, spoilers alert, like I made the reference of, it gave me Dead Man Wonderland vibes. That's kind of why. What was the main protagonist of Dead Man Wonderland? Was it Ganta? Was that his name? I think it was something with a G. But he basically went to like a hardcore prison because he was accused of murdering all of his classmates, and he's like 13 or 14-year-old middle schooler, you know. So that's why I'm like, the setup kind of made me think of similarly. But yeah, I thought like Chiwa was going to get murdered and he'd get blamed for it. Wasn't expecting his adoptive father to get murdered and him get blamed for it. But the timing is too coincidental, and I think Rudo is going to eventually piece it together, because he happened to run into the apostles, but it's like, wait, why are you here? Like, there's no reason for you guys to be here at all, like, and you just happen to be in the area when stuff is popping off. Like, Like, the fact is, you didn't see the real killer get away, but you showed up in time to get Rudo. It's like, you can tell it was a setup. Because the killer came there looking for something, and I'm wondering, is it something that maybe it's related to Rudo's dad and Recto, which I had to look up the name because I was definitely getting the name wrong, but it's like Regto. I'm probably still butchering it. Like, again, the name was said multiple times, but it's like, it's the book that was stolen his? I was like, not unless it was something that, I was about to say, not unless it's something that Rudo stole out of the trash. Because it's interesting because they immediately show up and know that Rudo was the one who stole. Like, they know he's the trash person, but it's like, they didn't know up until now. Because he even said, like, they never caught him until now. So maybe that's the rub of it all, where it's like, he finally got caught, that's why they're here now. But like, they didn't immediately arrest him, even though they immediately go like, oh, it's you. Even though they literally bumped into him earlier, they waited till the murder goes down to like do that. So, but Recto told him like, yo, run, you need to run and change this hellhole of a place. What did he die knowing? Like, was he a part of something? Like I said, does he know that Rudo's dad was actually a part of something? It's unclear, but we know, like, yo, no one's willing to listen to Rudo, and he watches and he sees the killers like right in front of him. Like, the way the killer's face looked, because it, like, they were wearing a cloth in front of their mouth, so it doesn't look like that's a mask per se. It looked like that was just straight up their face. So I'm like, what are you? Who are you? Whatever the case may be, Rudo ends up being thrown down in the pit. And, obviously, like, he's planning on his revenge on everyone, because he's like, yeah, they can all burn in hell, because, like, they just were so okay with all of this. But while he's down there, there's all that trash, because the point is, the pit is supposed to be where all trash, including the humans, end up. It all converges on this moment of the pit. But all of a sudden, a monster rises up, and I was like, it looks like, based on its teeth and like when it's opening its mouth, you can almost hear like rusty sounds as it's opening its mouth. So I'm like, this thing is purely made of trash. So is it something that was down here that assimilated with all the trash? Is it a living being? Is it a mechanized being that's kind of gravitated and like basically amalgamated all this trash to build its body up? It's unclear. But yeah. So I'm curious to see, like, is there a whole full-blown society living down here that's trying to rise up? Like, there's no way, like, I mean, who knows how people have been thrown in a pit for a long period of time. So, like, who knows if, like, there's even more of a slum down there than there is the actual slum. So I'm curious to see what ends up going down, like, what that world is like down there. I wonder, is it like, oh, God, what's that place in Bikini Bottom in, was it Rock Bottom? I believe that's what it's called. Like, I wonder if there's kind of a similar like society like that. I know it's weird. I'm kind of make a SpongeBob reference here, but once again, one of my nieces like keeps SpongeBob on rotation, so I'm seeing like a lot of older episodes I haven't seen in a hot minute, or even episodes I haven't, even more recent episodes I haven't seen in a long time. But either way, it kind of got me thinking, like, could it be like a society kind of like that, kind of, in the pit, those who've survived in all this time, kind of like this trashy wilderness. I don't know. I'm interested to find out more about the story and see where it goes. Also, I really like the outro. I could not quite track it down. I only did a little bit of Googling, but I think the group is called Dust Cell. I believe it's a duo, what I was seeing, but not unless that's the wrong thing. But I really like that song. That's why I was trying to track it down. So I'll probably put in some more work, unless you find out before I do. If I find out before, when this ends up going up, if I remember to, I'll leave it in the comments. But if I don't, hit me up and let me know what the song is if I don't track it down on my own, because I really like that. I want to hear the full version of it. But yeah, like I said, interesting series, interesting setup. I'm excited to see where all of it ends up taking us. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.